What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another deck profile here on TCG University for the card game UniVersus. My name's Tam, and today I'm going to be showing you James's Geoffrey deck that he played for this week's Campus Championship. Let's jump into it. All right, so Geoffrey's one of those rad characters that I think whenever he first came out, everybody was kind of sleeping on. But now that the meta has evolved, everybody realizes the power of that response once per turn. After an attack is played, it gains flash. If you have no cards in your hand, the damage is also reduced to 0. Kind of a bit of a... He is... High Seas Adventure, a card that is now rotated, very strong for its time, on the character card. And it's got this extra bonus of if you happen to put your hands down, you've got one more little, like, spiritual block. As well as his first form, as well as his other character, which we'll get to, just commits a ton of cards, and his other character freezes them and lets them not have them. So this deck is relying a ton on stacking, and so we are playing 3 extra draw-free 1-dots, as well as, we'll go ahead and toss this up. We are playing 4 of the Geoffrey 2-dot. Yeah, we are playing an entire full Geoffrey lineup. We're playing as many Jeffs as we can. So many Jeffs. And these two characters work really, really well together. This Jeff says commit a card equal to the difficulty of the number of characters that you have. This Jeff says that I get to freeze one of my opponent's committed foundations. And this one says once per turn, I get stun X, or I commit X cards, not technically the stun keyword, but equal to the number of characters that I have in my staging area, which can be, I can commit up to 8 cards if I get fully stacked. Just so 8 cards plus Geoffrey. You have to be past deadlock in order to use any sort of resources. So onto our attacks. We are playing Triple Graceful Rouge. The order symbol has gotten a ton of awesome gauge support off of Amy support, as well as Suzaku and Geoffrey himself. And so order absolutely loves to gauge. This is a reversal, being able to give this thing stun 2 plus Geoffrey's commit plus Geoffrey 2-dots commit, because it just says, does it say once per turn your turn? Oh, it does say once per turn your turn. Lame. But anyways, there's just having so much foundation denial in the commit system is really, really strong. Just like in with this Lightning Torture, another gauge attack happens to have the throw keyword. I'm going to be committing a ton of cards off of Geoffrey, and I'll go ahead and I'll stack Geoffrey 2 up over here just because it's important to play both. And it just gets a ton of damage. It's like a 2 mid for 7 with gauge 4. Just really, really strong abilities. We have to make sure that we are finding as many characters as quickly as possible for other key pieces inside of the deck. Up next, we're playing 4 Ashen Claws. This is one of James's absolute favorite cards, just because of its deadlock ability, honestly. Search my deck for a gauge attack and add it to my hand. My next gauge attack ignores progressive difficulty. So this thing just existing inside of my card pool, if my opponent has 11 foundations, after I've attacked with it and I've attacked with the next thing, I will remove this, making it not count towards progressive difficulty because it's no longer in the card pool, and then I search for whatever card that I want. Whatever I think is going to be the best in this exact situation, as well as randomly, it's a 0 high block. What? 0 high block? That's insane. Up next, we're playing Double Crusader's Oath. This is Geoffrey's own card. It gets stun 2 with the extra committal off of Geoffrey, as well as it gets minus to its gauge rating. So it has an EX, gauge 5, could be gauge 3, and stun 2. This card is very, very fast. It pretty much guarantees that I'm going to snap at my character. One of the best gauge support that the order symbol has gotten is Prism Storm of Torment. Enhance, add all characters that share a name from my starting character to my discard pile. Dude, we've got 8 of them. We've got so many characters. This thing can randomly just be like, hey, I'm going to add every single one of my characters, and now my character is so online that you'll never have a staging area on my turn ever again. As well as, if I have any sort of draw, if I do attempt to play this as the 7th card of the turn, I just auto-pass it. It just happens. It just works. And then the last gauge attack that we have inside of the deck is James's absolute favorite card from the 7th cross set, Dust to Dust. As long as I have 2 characters stacked, which with Geoffrey it's very easy. These are the gauge characters. Search my deck for a gauge attack and add it to my hand. And so I can play Dust for Dust on my 6, very easy to play. I will commit my opponent's entire board and then search for another Dust for Dust that I just play on a 6 because I have at least 2 characters, and then I'll play another Dust for Dust, and then another Dust for Dust. And so accidentally, these are just 20 damage that you pretty much can't do anything about because your entire board is committed. It's a 4 mid for 5. If I can get any sort of extra damage on it, then it's just even more lethal. Onto our non-gauge attack, we're only playing 3. We're playing a singular deep freeze in order to help our commit strategy, as well as sealing up to those problem cards. Seal up to 3 of my opponent's foundations is such an unbelievably strong ability, with it already having stun 2, possibly stun 3 if I use this ability, and it's a card that they have to block because randomly it's 7 damage. This card hits so hard. And speaking of hitting hard, our last card is Frost Hammer. Because of how much I'm committing off of Geoffrey, this thing gets massive. It gets a ton of damage. It is fairly slow unless you do combo it with the Deep Freeze for the seal ability. But randomly, just at the end of your chain, if you've got the foundations being like, hey, this thing's for an additional 12 damage. Did you block it? No? All right, then I'll start playing my Dust for Dusts and just finish up the job. On our actions and assets, we are playing 4 Demon Realm Awakening. This card's really, really good inside of this deck because we know all of our cards have at least one keyword, either stun or gauge. And so sometimes this card with, Prison Storm of Torment gets an additional, 5 damage, and then you draw an additional card, as well as keeps you safe. One of the best things that you can do with Geoffrey is flash their attack, block with a Demon Realm Awakening, draw your card, and clear this from the card pool. Before your opponent gets a chance to really make the thing threatening, you Geoffrey and then easy block it. It's also fantastic throw hate, which very much exists in this game. In the same vein as the Demon Realm Awakening, we've got 1 stop. Geoffrey's really, really good at committing a bunch of cool cards in my opponent's staging area, and once I do get stacked enough, I can commit their character, but before I get 6 characters stacked, I'm going to start stopping them. We're playing 1 Here We Go. This is just an enhance stack Geoffrey 2. Now my Dust for Dusts are alive, as well as it could just say enhance, add a character from my discard pile up to my hand. And so I've got not only a 0 low block, but I've also got a 0 mid block, all of 1 card. On our assets, we're playing 1 Albion. This thing gives gauge to things that don't have gauge. Giving something like Lightning Torture an additional gauge 3 is really, really good. It just speeds up my deck so much, as well as it says commit add a character up to my hand and turn their attack zone to mid. And so I change it to mid, and then I found my free mid block. It's just a commit, make a free block. You do lose a character in the process, but that's okay. We're playing our last asset is 1 Omega Sword and Elk Shield. Being able to have this exist inside of your staging area next to Geoffrey. Geoffrey pops his once per turn response, and then you block and just take no damage is really, really strong. On our foundations, we don't really have any aggressive foundations, but we do have a ton of flow inside of the deck. We want the deck to be a well-oiled machine. And so we're playing 3 Bear of the Makai Whistle. This card just says discard one of our 7 additional characters into our discard pile. Fantastic for use on Prism Storm. And my attack gets -2 to its gauge rating. Really solid on my throws and such. Sometimes I can get this all the way down to gauge 1 or gauge 2. Speaking of gauge, we're also playing 3 Moment of Rest. What this card's really good for, honestly, inside of the 7th cross characters, is these characters get accidentally stuck in your hand, and so being able to block with them, then respond with a Moment of Rest, flip it, and then add it in, means that you didn't have to play this high cost of the 6th difficulty. You're just playing it as a block, which sometimes just caps out at 4 or 5. And so, in addition to that, you can also give your attack gauge X. Very solid card. Up next, we're playing 4 Voice of Reason. We need to be able to draw cards. We don't have any aggressive foundations in order to make our attacks bigger and scarier, but what we do have is more ways to find more attacks. And so drawing cards off of Voice of Reason, just like drawing cards off of Never a Day Without Training, is very, very solid. Discard a card, draw a card, or if I've got an asset, just flip, draw a card. A once per game use that Voice of Reason does. We've also got double passing the torch. This card's amazing inside of Geoffrey because part of his game plan, honestly, is to go down to not having any cards in hand so that his response is even better. So I respond without any cards in my hand and take no damage from their attack. They play another attack. Maybe I wasn't expecting it. Maybe I was. I will commit and then draw 2 cards instead of the 1 that I was thinking. In the same vein, we've got Double Solemn Exorcism. This card says if I don't have any cards in hand, I get to draw 1. As well as it's fantastic as a block 2 high. If I block a weapon attack, it gets a breaker 2. Trying to end somebody's turn. And the last float card that we're playing is one Leader of the Saintly Beast. Form Destroy. Discard the top card. Reveal the top 5 cards of my deck. And then add a character or gauge card revealed this way. Really solid to start popping off these Dust for Dust chains. Onto our defense, we're playing 4 Fei-Feis, flip -3 speed. Really good whenever I've got 7 additional 0 mid-blocks in my deck. Just an all-around fantastic card. Up next, we're playing 1 Nightmare Tears. You don't have to minus speed because this card does it all by itself. When I attempt to block with this card, the speed is set to 0. And so it's just a 3 low that just, boom, it's on a 3. Up next, we're playing 1 Mushroom Experimentation. Commit my character. Once I've used his response once per turn on my opponent's turn, I can just commit him, and then we'll both discard 2, draw 2. Maybe I can find the successful blocks, or even better, destroy, discard a 6, probably a character, and then reduce the attack's damage to 1. Just as good as Geoffrey. I'll take 1 instead of taking 0, though. Up next, we're playing 1 God of Thunder. This is just destroy a foundation, ready a foundation. Really good in order to keep my Dust for Dust plays happening, because I do have to check 6s. So every time that I check a 5, I have to commit a foundation. If I commit to 2 foundations, I will destroy 1 and then ready 1 back. There's another Dust for Dust readily available. On to some disruption. Why commit some cards when we commit every card? We're playing double $500 sunglasses. After my opponent plays an ability on their... after my opponent plays an enhanced ability, they commit one of their foundations. I will commit my $500 sunglasses and make that stay committed. We're playing 3 Resurrected Evil. Response commit after my opponent's ready step. Commit a card. It's Geoffrey's first form, but as a response speed on my opponent's turn. So if I do have 6 cards stacked, I can first form with Geoffrey, commit their character. When all of their stuff readies back up, I'll just respond with one of my Resurrected Evils and commit their character again. As soon as I get 6 characters with Geoffrey and Resurrected Evil, they're not allowed to play with their character anymore. A little bit slower, but we do have triple Suspicious of Mr. X. This card is just the same thing of Geoffrey's form or Resurrected Evil's response, but as an enhanced speed, I get to commit one of their cards equal to the number of characters I have. We're playing Triple Radical Edward. This card says after it's checked, add a Geoffrey up to my hand, as well as commit an asset or foundation that has at least 1 keyword on it. All my assets have keywords. I think there's only 1 that exists in the game that does not have a keyword printed on the card. Up next, we've got 1 Trusted Keeper. This card's got a dual role. Not only is it disruption, but it's also a bit of defense. It says enhance, add this card to your hand, : so as cost, I lift it, and then I get to selectively commit one of their cards. I just added a 3 mid-block to my hand. Maybe they were making me discard cards. I've added a 3 mid-block to my hand, and then I can just drop it back down easy as the block. And then my last card is Double Ageless Unwise. Foundation removal is all over the place still. And so I want to be able to play with my cool abilities, my cool effects. I don't want them to get moonsetted. And so I will just response flip after they try to moonset me or Caluga me. I will cancel it. And so there you have it. There is James's Geoffrey deck that he played for this week's Campus Championship. If you like the deck and you want to see more of it, make sure you check out all of the matches that we recorded over on the channel. It'll be in its own playlist in the Campus Championship section. As well as if you want to talk to you want to talk to James about your awesome Jeff deck, let us get in contact with us by going out to Patreon, patreon.com/TCG University. Talk to James as well as the other faculty, as well as the other student body that exists. So from all of us here at TCGU, thank you very much for watching, and stay learned.